welcome back to the channel. This is the last episode of Stargirl that we will be reviewing. Hopefully, maybe not the last, but the last in the third season. So I'm just going to summarize how we got here. And the summary of this season was, the big mystery was who killed the gambler. Of course, it was the Ultra-Humanite and Jordan. But the reason was why. The reason why was because the gambler gets an alert on his laptop from his search for Becky, his daughter. He was looking for his daughter to reconcile with her. And then he finds this alert on his computer. What he finds, instead of Becky, is the 9-camera feed around the town. So Jordan knew that the gambler was onto them and needed to take him out. So that's the reason why the whole murder, mystery and everything started. So this is the last episode, guys. And yeah, it starts by us flashing back to 9 months ago where Dr. Ito and a reconstituted Jordan dig up Sylvester's body in order to put his transplanted brain from Ultra-Humanite, giving them the ability to trick the JSA for their brainwashing plan. Now about the plan, had it worked, the ISA would have joined forces with the young JSA and continued to manipulate the kids into doing awful things, using Starman as the leader of the team, calling the shots. And they would have got away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids. Does that sound familiar, guys? Not just that, but they actually didn't think the plan through, with the sheer amount of intangibles at play. The Crocs would have never turned bad again, and the Artemis factor wasn't taken into account, along with Cameron's love for Courtney. So it was a plan that was doomed to fail. Now Pat, we leave him seeing him dug into the ground and buried alive. Now at the time we saw Pat digging himself out of the grave, I was thinking to myself, sure, he was part of the JSA as Starman's sidekick. I'm sure he was taught a few things. I also predicted last week that Grundy would save him. But Grundy did come back at the end of the episode to pay that off, but he didn't save Pat. Now the fight scenes were good considering they had to shoot an alternate ending. And that was to finish the story. Now Courtney, as we remember guys, even without the staff, she's a former gymnast. So she can kind of look after herself in a fight even without the staff. But we saw some serious speed movements from her. When I saw her move with the staff at super speed, I was like, boy, she's just leveled up. And the issue with the staff that I talked about last week was resolved by Barbara, who gets a special thanks in this episode with some great payoffs. Now, Beth's combat mode, we've seen it activate a couple of times, but it's not like we saw her doing some Matrix stuff. You know, her and Sophus brought about trying to save the teams, which Grandma Lily wasn't having any of. It's strange, as I thought Grandma Lily had calmed down since Jordan came back home, but she's painted with the same evil heart, just like her son. And remember, when Hawkeye trapped Iron Man under the cars for using his own power against him in Civil War, in Marvel Civil War, well, Wildcat did the same to Lily. She hit the icicles on the car at the top, and the car dropped down and hit her, killed her instantly. Funny, because at the time I was calling her a witch, and it was very reminiscent of The Wizard of Oz. But Barbara was the MVP of the episode. She told Courtney that the staff believes in everything she says. So, of course, if Courtney says Starman doesn't deserve the staff, then it should come back to Courtney, which it did. Now, some of you might be thinking that that's an ass pull, but I did discuss this last week in the power that Courtney has over the staff, and that's why it makes sense to me. The staff obeys her, and she told it not to go to Starman. That's why she asked Cosmo which box it would like to rest in at the end of the episode, and it chose the older box, which she first used to keep the staff safe. So you can see it can make decisions for itself, but it was also at the same time doing what she told it to do. Back to Barbara though. She even uses the crossbow that Paula taught her to use. Nice little payoff there. But Jakeem proved himself to her when he turned the original Dragon King into a fluffy toy, which the Dugan dog is currently ripping the arms off in the household to Cindy's enjoyment. Now, after Pat's fight with Starman, it was one of them heady fights. It leaves Sylvester brain damaged. which at the time I was asking what happened to his original brain. Well, they paid that one off too by showing it at the end of the episode, meaning that in the future, Starman gets his body back because Pat kept Sylvester on life support with the original Dr. Mid-Nite for all those years. Also, Cameron shattering Jordan before leading with Sophos. Remember when I said that Jordan is more ice now rather than he is human? It would take something special to actually defeat him because he no longer has a human body. Now, at the end of the episode, Artemis and Cindy became full-fledged members of the JSA, which is what they wanted. The Shade also became a member of the JSA as well, and even Jay likes him. But Grundy even became a member, so apples for everybody, guys. I wonder if Artemis ever told Cameron what she did to Jordan, in the same way that Courtney took the blame for what Mike did. It doesn't really matter, guys. Cameron knows what his dad really is, and he would have taken his father out by himself if it came down to it. The Shade even mentions that Beth and Rick are getting married too. So I love the way he stood in front of their parents and apologised. Rick kind of wore his heart on his sleeve there. And I knew love was in the air for them because I remember when he caught Beth jumping out the window of Cindy's house in season 2 when they were spying on Cindy. As for Yolanda, look guys, she loves her mama very much. And we see that it's a win-win for both parties when Yolanda is deciding to tell her mum the truth, in the hope that her mum will support her like Beth and Courtney's parents do. Starting the process of healing and reuniting with her own family by reaching out to them kind of tells the story, which is for her the end of this frustrating time of not getting any love and support from her family. But there was also a nice touch when Courtney visits Stephen's daughter and delivers his original letter to Rebecca. And then Courtney goes and stands outside the Marquette's home and it starts to snow. And this is when she's reunited with Cameron and him saying, "Can you really help me on my journey?" So it's really nice. There's so many payoffs in this episode. One of the best being Pat's dark side. His past, which he saw in the Shadowlands. So the painful future was shown to us and Pat needed to make amends. He needed to make peace with this. So Mike meets his biological mother. But what stole the scene was Mike coming back into the car calling Barbara mum. That was a real eye-teary scene for the fans of the series. But after all of that is done, we move to 3 months later after the big fight. We see Jordan alive in Copenhagen. And then Artemis finds him and burns Jordan alive in a serious Mortal Kombat Scorpio fire fatality move. Finish him! And yes, she did. Then kind of skip again, another time skip, 10 years into the future. So this is where we see, guys, that Sylvester's brain is finally found. And he is revived. The JSA rescues the 7 soldiers of Victory as well from the Nebula Man. Funny, the Nebula Man, which would have probably been season 4 and 5 of the show, I'm sure of that. But this is where we find out that Rick and Beth got married and that the tour guide for the JSA Museum is the Shade. We also find out the members of the team in the future are as follows. Courtney is now Star Woman. Cindy is now Dragon Queen. Jade is there, Green Lantern. Rick and Beth, we know they're soon to be married. Jakeem Thunder now, instead of Johnny Thunder. He's part of the team. Mike Dugan's there as Stripe 2.0. And then we hear that Sand and Damage are on the team. Great. You're probably going to ask me who they are. Well, Sanderson Hawkins was the sidekick to the original Sandman and a member of the Young All-Stars in the comics. And here's a quick Easter egg about Damage. He's on the team here in the future as well. But back on Earth Prime's Flash TV series, we find out that Grant Emerson's version of Damage is one of the people who died in the particle accelerator. Remember that explosion that gave the Flash his powers? But he's also the son of Albert Pratt, the original Atom. He also has something of a brotherly relationship with Atom Smasher, who we just saw in the Black Adam movie. So Damage is a living biochemical fusion reactor that constantly absorbs, it builds up and produces energy, and he can manipulate that in numerous ways. So think of Deadpool's Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who can generate atomic bursts from her body. Now, at the end of all of this, the shade in the museum in the future is interrupted by Jay Garrick. Remember, this is Earth 2, so Jay Garrick, the Flash, is still on there, who tells him that the JSA is needed and that the adventures are not over. So there's a lot to unpack here. So first of all, there's a time jump, meaning our heroes are all adults now. They fully understand the use of their powers, so they're way more powerful now than what they were before. Then it means their adventures continue. This is a smart way to end the season. And notice I didn't say finish the series, because it's not over as stated by the wording at the end of the screen. And I thought it was so enjoyable, and I loved the way they tied it in, and it was very emotional as well. These amazing characters have great lives, and their adventures will be amazing and continue for us to all to hopefully see. And I cannot wait if we see these stories in the future, and it really is down to if James Gunn gets his way. Let me know what you guys thought of this last episode, and I'll speak to you guys in the future and hopefully do some more shows to review. Peace out, guys. Nice one.